What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of Too Good to Be Drew. I'm your host, Drewjaydavis, a certified life and performance coach that works with student athletes, professional athletes, and high performing individuals. And today we'll be talking about the athlete transition, whether you're transitioning from high school to college, college to the NFL, NFL to the real world, whatever it might be. We're going to cover a couple of those instances as I also give a little bit of background about my journey, what I went through, and what I learned from that same period of time. One of the biggest things that I see these days, and like I said, I worked at the college level at UCLA as a director of player development. But a lot of athletes, once they're done playing or once their career doesn't continue to go to the next level, they kind of disappear from social media. And they disappear from what they post. They don't necessarily disappear that they're on there and that they're looking and liking and searching for stuff. And I think it's something interesting to look to that we finish doing something that is a big part of our personality and our makeup and our identity. And now we're either waiting to get signed by another team, waiting for another opportunity, or it's very clear to us that we have to find something else that we're passionate about and move on to other aspects of our lives. Working at UCLA, I saw a lot of players come through there. We have a good amount of players that are in the NFL that are playing and making contributions right now. But more so in any team that you look at, even the Ohio States and the Alabamas and the LSUs and the Texases, big juggernaut team like those, looking at a majority of the top level teams, even on those teams, a lot of your players aren't going to the NFL or playing or continuing their playing career after they wrap up their college career. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's very extremely hard to make it to the NFL. It's very hard to get drafted into the NFL and to be amongst those 300 and something odd people that make it. And the thing that people forget about the NFL and and professional sports for that matter is every year they're trying to figure out who's the next best thing, who can we plug in this position, pay them less but still get the same productivity and output. It's a business. And I think with knowing that, it doesn't make it any easier as an athlete once you know that, because you're always pretty much on your toes as far as like, man, am I going to get another year after this year? Am I going to make it past this game? Will I get cut? Will I get traded? A whole bunch of things like that pop up. But I think one of the biggest factors that when you're done playing, if you haven't poured into yourself, and no, matter of fact, I take that back. Even if you have poured into yourself, if you've been playing football since the age of 8 and now you're 28 and all of a sudden that time of your life is gone, there can be an adjustment period where you're really trying to figure out, okay, I've been doing this thing and putting in off seasons and seasons and working out and putting in all this time to this profession. And now this part of my life is pretty much done. It's pretty much just like grieving in a way, because you've been connected with this thing for so long. And whether you saw it coming or not, now this thing is no longer here to be your outlet for a lot of the things that you're doing. It's not here to be your career that's going to pay the bills and take care of your family and put money in your pocket. And then also, there's a big amount of time that you now have that you have to figure out what you want those next steps to be. Maybe those next steps are that you have to go back to school and get a master's or a doctorate for what you're working towards. Maybe you're studying for a different trade or for a license or anything of that nature. And so I understand why the players disappear a lot from social media when they're not signed to a team or once they get done playing, because their identity is attached to 20 years of being a football player and or playing football, I should say. And I have a very interesting story where I've been a part of transitioning away from sports on 3 different occasions. One time as a player from college to the NFL, another time as an NFL player to the real world, and then also from working in college athletics to starting my own business and going back to acting school. And one thing I will say, when I first had my transition in college, the year that I was coming out, of the year when I wrapped up our senior season and we played the national championship against Auburn, and that off season, I said, "Man, do I really want to try to work to go to the NFL?" Like, I know the chances of me are very slim for me to end up at that level. Plus, we have a lockout looming this year, so there might not be any football. So, would it be better for me just to go find and go get a job and to be able to start my life and to start on this road of getting in good with a company and really knowing what I wanted to do moving forward? So I did the necessary things that I should do. I trained for pro day at Oregon. I competed in pro day. I did pretty well. And then the lockout took place in March, if I'm correct. And with the lockout taking place, that mean there was going to be no football moving forward. Teams weren't going through any OTAs and voluntary offseason workouts like they usually do because honestly, there is no agreement between the players and the owners and the league. And so I trained for that, got ready for that, killed it. And then after I wrapped up my college at Oregon, which I still left and graduated early, I drove back home and I started working a couple jobs. I had a job working for Red Bull where I drove around and I did was a merchandiser for some stores, making sure things were in order and making sure they were stocked. And then later that summer, I applied and got accepted to an Ace My interview, which I am very good at doing. Ace My interview with DirecTV at the time, back in Colorado, and I started this job. And so now while I'm doing this job or while I'm waiting for it, I'm also still training on the side. I'm going to a track, I'm running some routes and catching some balls with my receivers coach from high school. And so we're still planning that if this lockout is over, that I will still be able to possibly get a shot or a chance somewhere. And more so than that, that I will be in shape and ready for this shot when it comes. And so I was at working at DirecTV for doing my on the job training for 1 week. And then on the second week that I'm on my on the job training, the lockout ends, the lockout's lifted, and teams begin to call and court me to see if I want to come and be on their team. And I talked to my agent at the time, and my agent said, "Hey, we're in a precarious position. You didn't get drafted. I think we should go ahead and go with the first team that calls." And so that team being the Atlanta Falcons was the first team that gave me a call. And when you're going into the NFL and you're signing as a free agent, they usually offer you something like a signing bonus, some putting a little money in your pocket to show how much they really want you at that team. And considering, I guess they had went after a couple other high profile guys in different positions, that they offered me the great sum of $0 to come and be a free agent with the Atlanta Falcons. And so I was a little bit upset. I was like, "Dang, they can't give me I can't get $10. I can't get some gas money or some money out the petty cash box or anything like that." But what I got was the possibility to come to Atlanta, Georgia, and possibly make this team as an undrafted free agent. And that's the biggest opportunity that you could ask for as a free agent is a chance to make the team, a chance to make more money on top of whatever this signing bonus might have been. And so now that I look back at it, if I would have had it anyway, I definitely would have wanted to have it where I didn't get the signing bonus and I made the team rather than getting a signing bonus and I didn't make the team. And so I go to Atlanta. I'm on the practice squad for 2 years. I'm on the active roster for 3 years. After my second year on the practice squad, or after my first year on the practice squad, they placed me on the practice squad again my second year. But the guy that they picked ahead of me got hurt, and I moved up to the active roster. And from then, that's all she wrote. But my time having to prepare for if football wasn't around for me was a very pivotal time for me. It was a time that I got to see and say, all right, well, if I wasn't playing football, what would I want to do? And I'm here to tell you that I still didn't know what that answer was. I was working these jobs and they were pretty easy to me. And I know I could rise up and through the ranks in the company because I'm a diligent worker, I'm smart, I'm timely, all those attributes we get from sports, being disciplined, working in a team. I knew all those things would come out and be great for me. But I'm also glad this opportunity to be an NFL player popped up because it showed that I did have the talent and I did have the hard work and I carved out a nice little role for myself on that team, playing special teams and being a receiver that came in on certain situations to block or to chip bigger defenders and go out into the flat. And so after 4 years with the Atlanta Falcons, my final year, I got hurt the year before, and I really didn't go get a second opinion on my foot that was bothering me at the time. I thought during the offseason I would go ahead and I would mend and my body would feel great and my foot would feel great after a couple weeks and that this was just wear and tear from the year. But my foot never got better. And finally, during the summer of that next year, I went to go get checked out by my doctors at Oregon, and they took an X-ray, and that's when they let me know that I had a small fracture in my foot called a Jones fracture, and that it will require me to have surgery if I decided to have it or if I wanted to be able to play this upcoming year. And so I decided to have the surgery, missed a large portion of my fourth and final year in Atlanta. And once we wrapped up there, we didn't have a good year that year. We end up getting beat by Carolina the last game of the season to knock us out of the playoffs. But after that, my contract didn't get renewed. I got surgery on another knee after I had some ill effects from the broken foot and I was overcompensating. And so I ended up getting a knee scope twice after that offseason while I was unsigned. But In my mind and in my agent's head, I was like, "Oh, I'm still gonna get another shot, like, there's gonna be some teams that call." And there were no calls that came in for quite a while. I spent the off season and OTAs, so all the way from about March, April till about June with no calls. And then a couple calls started coming in July, but my body wasn't 100% ready. I had pulled a hamstring working out and training on the track, and I definitely knew I couldn't go to this camp and go in there at about 70% and expect to make the team. I wanted to give myself the best chance I could to make a team. And so based on that decision, a couple teams ended up passing on me, and when I got healthy, no other phone calls came in. And so I went from doing this and still working out and working jobs on the side to really looking at my life and saying, "Okay, I think my career is really over. I think, we had a good run. I made a couple years in the league. I got a pension, made some great connections and some great friends, but now I have to figure out what's next." And during that time, I did a couple things that were uncomfortable for me, but were also testers for me to test out job markets and titles and positions that I would want to do. And I found during this time that me being a diligent worker and me being focused and smart and intelligent, I caught myself with saying like these jobs are below me. And I don't mean to say that in a disrespectful way, but I mean the jobs were easy. You know what I'm saying? I don't mean to say that you work a job for it to be hard or challenging, but I was literally like, I could do this with my hands tied behind my back and a blindfold on. And so I knew I was destined for more. I was destined to make a bigger impact. And I worked at places like a uniform company and a reservation agent at a hotel. And then I even got involved in coaching at the high school level to try to give back and to help this next generation. And during that time, I got another call from my college coach, Scott Frost, who was at the University of Central Florida at the time, and offered me a position to come on as a graduate assistant to work with the running backs and also pursue a master's degree. I will say this, coaching was not on my radar at the college or NFL level at that time. I knew I liked coaching in a more relaxed setting where not going to say wins and losses didn't matter, but it's more the relationships at the high school level. It's more so teaching them about hard work and focus and discipline and kind of giving them that steady person that they can see on a daily basis, especially being a former athlete who got to the places that they were trying to get. So it's a lot more relaxed and a lot less focused or overbearing like college coaching and NFL coaching can be. And I had no plans to be a college coach because I know how much time that they spend away from their families, how much time they spend on the road, in the film room, looking at film, breaking down games, making game plans, practice time in the summer. Like I knew how much that took. But I wanted to take this opportunity to go back and work on my master's and possibly look into a player development position to help the players more off the field. So I said I would take this opportunity. Spent a year at the University of Central Florida, and then after that, I got hired as the assistant director of player development at UCLA, and then a couple months later, got moved up to the director of player development, where I was there for 4 years. Then, after being there for 4 years, I had to make the executive decision: do I want to go back to acting school and pursue something that I wanted to do since college, but just never got the chance to? And that's when I decided to start my own business so I can have income to supplement me going back to school and to also start this other career path where I can directly help athletes and student athletes as a certified life and performance coach working with student athletes and professional athletes and high performing individuals. And so as we talk about transition, and it might seem like all that stuff was seamless in my life, but there was a lot of times where I was guessing like, man, do I really want to do this? I took this time to go see and work with the resume writer because I really didn't know how to format my resume to mirror the jobs and the positions that I was going after. And when I sat down with this resume writer, she was the sweetest little thing, sweet old lady, was really on her stuff. And she asked me, well, what career do you want? What do you want to do? And I said, well, I like working with people. And mind you, me going to this resume writer is after my time in the NFL. And so where I feel like I didn't have a lot of work experience to really stand on to say, hey, I'm a candidate that really sticks out. So she said, well, what do you like to do? I said, well, I like to help people. And, I like those face-to-face interactions and really helping somebody get to what they want to do and accomplish. And she said, oh, so it sounds like you like sales. And I was like, "Nah, that's gonna be a no for me, dog. I do not like sales. No, we do not like sales over here. That's, you're working with people, but you're also trying to sell a product." And I was like, "Nah, that's not what I mean. Like, I want to help people get to where they're trying to go in life. And so she constructed a resume for me that equaled that, was able to talk about my strengths that I got from playing professional football and as a college athlete. And from that point on, I was still able to get job interviews at places that, were hiring. And one big thing I can say about myself is I've never gotten an interview. I've never sat down for an interview with an employer and not been offered the job. So having a collegiate athlete and a professional athlete on my resume, I still understood that when I sat down in these rooms, regardless of what these people wanted to talk about, that I still needed to impress them with who I was as a young man and who I would be as an employee. And like I said, as athletes, we have all the tangible things that we need. We really do. We know how to outwork people. We know how to work in a team environment. We know how to work together. We know about competition. We know about late nights and early mornings. We know about having to do something that you don't really want to do, but it needs to get done. Like all those tangible things that we have that shows our perseverance and the grit that we have, jobs and employers love because they don't have to talk to us about the smaller mundane things. They don't have to talk to us about what it looks like to show up on time and how they need this on their desk at this certain time or need us to respond to this. We understand a lot of that stuff. And so every interview I'd walk in, I did my research, I go in there, I crush it, I put my best foot forward. And there was only a couple jobs that I turned down that I was like, after learning more about your company, about this position, I don't think it would be a great fit for me. But the thing was, I always got offered the position because I did the work in the beginning to get there. And so for my athletes that are out there who are transitioning or waiting for your opportunity or waiting for what's next for you, continue to put in that same hard work that you put in on the field in all these other different areas. You're going to see that, it might be hard and there's some stuff that you don't know. So you're going to feel like a fish out of water. But for the stuff that you don't know, make it your priority to learn about this stuff so you can be better equipped to answer questions, to go in as an expert in this field. Or even if you're not an expert, to go in and say, hey, I don't know much about this, but what I looked up and what I already read and what I started to study, I know that I'm going to be able to pick this up quickly and I'm going to be the best people working. I'm going to be the best worker working for you. I say all that to say, don't let your identity that you played football be the identity that all you are is a football player or an athlete. What you do is so much more, and what you've been through is so much more than that. And there are numerous things in this life that you will be able to go and make money at doing. And I just hope you take the time to find out something that you're really passionate about doing. So it makes that transition even sweeter because one of the best things that I can say about working in a career that you love or that you're passionate about is that the work doesn't feel like work. It feels like you're having fun. Listen to this, like this podcast right now and this show. This is what I would talk to a lot of people about in coaching sessions. This is what I would talk about as a speaker, standing in front of a room of young men who are about to go to college or graduate from college, or some young boys that are want to be football players and they're really trying to really get a better feel of how good they are. A lot of what I do is to instill confidence and knowledge into people. And athletes are my favorite people to work with because once you have that mindset of an athlete or a competitor, you put yourself in these positions and these situations and you come out victorious because you're like, if it's got to be me or them, it's going to definitely be me. I control how hard I work. I control how much time I put in. I control my attitude when I show up to this job every day, whether I want to be here or not. I control a lot of that stuff. So, as an athlete, don't disappear when your time is done playing your sport. Don't stop posting. Don't stop liking people's pictures and commenting. We know you on there. I know you on there. Look at that time as a junction to show even more of who you are without the game or the sport. That's what it's about. All those intangibles that you brought into football, even that personality that you had with football, bring that into all these other work areas with you. And don't shy away from the fact that you played 4 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years. You don't have to soften the blow for other people for what you did professionally and athletically just because they might be a little bit insecure. They don't get to do that. But that is 100% on you to be able to address that and to own that. When you own that you were a football player, when you own that you played 6 years and now you're done and now you're looking for the next venture, it speaks to conviction. It speaks to how sure you are about what's coming next and about who you are as a person. And it might take some time to get there. That's fine. Like I said, it's a little bit like dealing with grief. You're like, man, I've been playing this game for a better part of 20 years, and now all of a sudden it's over, and I have to look at what's next. And it's to be something that's a little bit scary. It should make you nervous. It should give you butterflies. But that's why you need to work with somebody like me, who's a coach, who can coach you through this point in your life and get you to where you're trying to go on the back end. Someone that knows what it's like when everything just seems like it's taken away all at once. And now you have to really dig down and see, what else am I passionate about and what else do I want to do? And I'll be the first one to tell you this, that everybody looks at the life of an athlete and it looks great, and they look at all the perks and everything that glitters, and playing in front of thousands and thousands of people, having signing autographs, being able to go to the club, and being at these celebrities and these galas and these Oscars, getting interviewed on podcasts, and raising up trophies at the end of the day for to be NBA champion or Super Bowl champion, or been winning the World Series of baseball. But it's hard work and the money's great, but there's a lot of careers out here that you can pursue that can possibly give you more money than the NFL could ever do. And I'm not talking about the big money people like Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or Justin Jefferson or anything like that, because those guys got $100 million contracts. But there's a lot of money out here to be had for being a real estate agent, for being a barber, a doctor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a masseuse, a counselor, a teacher, a professor, starting your own business and building it from the ground up to be something spectacular. So you got to find what you're passionate about. Do not shy away from who you are as athletes, as a person, or what you've done from such a young age, from excelling and developing your athletic traits to getting you where you are today. And you might have to rewind, and you might have to kind of sharpen your sword and develop as a younger person. You might have to develop as an accountant. You might have to develop in certain other areas that give you the leg up in these industries that you want to get into. But I want to tell you guys, don't be afraid to continue posting. Don't let your sport be the identity of who you are, because we are much more than that. God didn't put us on this earth to play football and baseball and basketball and run track. He gave us the talent to be able to do so. We worked hard to develop that talent and that gift into something special. So long after our bodies break down on us and we're not able to run a 4-4 anymore, and we start to get a little bit of a stomach from drinking too many Budweisers on the weekend and the weekday, just know that you are put on this earth to be a lot more than an athlete. You're put on this earth to make a difference in a lot of people's lives, whether you know it or not. And I'm going to be the first one to tell you, sitting here, that you are destined for much more, because you have all the qualifications you need to go and walk into rooms and be confident, to be sure of yourself, and to be focused enough that other people can look at you and say, I don't know who this dude is, but I don't think he's nothing to play with. I don't know who this woman is that walked in here, but I know she's got an extra gear to her that I probably can't possibly quite keep up with her. That my job might be in jeopardy because these athletes are coming in here and they know that how competitive it is in here, and they've already been through a cutthroat business and come out successful on the other side. So don't hide. Continue to post. Continue to show what you're passionate about. Continue to talk to those fans that you've gained from being an athlete, and continue to connect and communicate with them, because you never know if one of those fans or one of those followers or somebody that's going to give you your next job or your next opportunity for something big. And I know it's scary. And I know it doesn't seem like everything's going to be okay and everything's going to turn out right, but it is, because you're destined for greatness. You're destined for so much more. And if you're hearing this and I spoke directly to your soul and directly with what you're going through, man, reach out to me on my website, fill out a contact form on the contact page, and let's start working together. Schedule a discovery call with me. Drewjaydavis.com. I am a certified life and performance coach, and I specialize working with athletes, student athletes and professional athletes, and high performing individuals. So if you want to take yourself to the next level with everything that you're working on, with everything that you've been doing, you're thinking about making a transition, you're stuck right now and trying to figure out how do I get out of this? Let's work together. Don't waste time. My books are open right now. I'm accepting new clients, and I would love to work with you and get you on the path to what you are passionate about and what your purpose is on the face of this earth. I decided to speak about this topic today because I got a really, really good question from a viewer and from a fan. And I felt like it would be apropos to fit this in just right here because it really matters. And when we're talking about transitioning, athletes, we face a lot of adversity. And I think that's what makes us very special. And I love working with people and athletes who face adversity because that's when we really figure out who we are. When it's bad and when the situation or the circumstances are at their worst, that's when we find out who we are. As people, as athletes, as a team, I love watching a game and seeing that there's a minute left and a team has to go 99 yards and they're down by 5 and they need to score a touchdown and they have no timeouts. That's the biggest amount of adversity you can face in that situation of football. But there's also adversity in the game of life. A lot of the times it's not in the right circumstance. It's not when we're at our best. It's usually when we're at our lowest. And we have to figure out how to climb out of there hand by hand, foot by foot. We got to figure out how to climb out of there and make the best of this situation and overcome the odds that have been stacked against us. Overcome these obstacles that have been thrown in our way that said, if you really want what's at the end of this path, you got to go through all this. You got to go through all this. Some people shy away from that. Some people would rather just give up or just not try. But for my athletes out there and for the people that have been through adversity, when you look back after you've been through adversity, you are so much better off because now you have another layer of armor to protect you from what you go through. Some adversity hits, cool. I've been through something similar like this before. I'm ready for it. That's what it stands for. So if you're afraid of adversity or if you don't think it's good for you, so if you're going through some adversity right now, if you're going through a problem or pain point, holla at me and let's work together and let's see how we can come out of this on the other end with the win. And so I'll get into the question because I think it's very apropos. And the question came in and said, how do you deal with pain during rehab from a torn ACL? And so I tore my ACL after my very first start, my sophomore year at the University of Oregon. And I had been working really feverishly to get this position. I had been doing everything in my power, and I was starting to get a little bit dejected because I thought, man, I'm not going to start or play this much this year as I thought I would. And midway through the year, the coach made a small change, and now I'm starting. In that game, I was balling. We were playing Stanford, we were playing Andrew Luck and Jim Harbaugh in Oregon. I caught a screen pass and took the ball down to like the 2 or 3 yard line. My homeboy Jeff scored the next touchdown. I caught a big third down, 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 7 for another first down, and everything was going great. And then there was a play in the back of the end zone right before halftime where the defender ran into me and my leg got kind of caught in the ground. And next thing you know, torn ACL. Still try to play after that because it didn't hurt too much. But as I was running routes, I couldn't stop. And so I knew something was wrong. So I took myself out of the game. And from that point, like I said, it's my sophomore year after my very first start. And I had surgery about 2 or 3 weeks later, right around Thanksgiving. And I had so many people that surrounded me and did such a great job helping me, supporting me, and getting me back to great health, both physically and mentally. So shout out to my trainers at Oregon, Trav, Chief, Kim, Heather, even my nutritionist, James, who took a special interest in me. But going after surgery and working back and trying to get back to where I was to full strength, it was tough. It was very tough. There were days I didn't want to do the rehab. There were days that my knee wouldn't bend to the right angle that it needed to, or to get the range of motion back in where I needed to. And there were times that I'm like, nah, my leg hurts so much. We're not doing a lot today, or I don't want to do a lot today because it hurts so much. But I had those people to support me and help me get through with that. And so the question is, how did you deal with the pain? There were some times I listened to my body and I was like, man, my body said we're not doing this today. Can we take it a little bit easier, or can we modify what we're doing because my body feels a little bit hurt or it just doesn't feel comfortable? And then there were times I like pushed my body to go through these types of things to come out the other side a little bit stronger. And so how did I deal with the pain? On a day-to-day basis, the pain was different. It would depend on, what I did the day before. the work we did, the grafting that we did on it to kind of break up the soft tissue that kind of builds and I don't want to say calcifies, but it builds and it becomes rough. So we're smoothing it out, icing, doing elevation stuff, doing everything, all my doing all my rehab purposeful stuff, ankle weights, leg raises, building up that muscle in the calf and the quad. But I dealt with the pain by being honest with myself. I dealt with the pain by saying, "Man, I feel like crap today. I don't know how I'm going to do all these things that they want me to do." And then other times I got pushed by the thought of getting back on the field and getting healthy and not going out like that with a torn ACL and oh man, Drew was very good up until he tore his ACL and then he just didn't get back to where he was supposed to get to. So I dealt with the pain by trying to do mental warfare on myself, trying to remind myself what the end goal was, what the reward or the payoff was. But like I said, I also listened to my body and I was like, man, I'm feeling really sore today. I got this problem area right here. Can we modify what we're doing? And not more so telling the trainers what I wanted to do, but asking them or making sure I'm upfront with them about how my body felt. And so the question is, how do you deal with the pain from rehab from ACL? Face it head on. Just like I would ask you, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, one day at a time. And as you stack up these wins, and as you go and your range of motion gets back to 90 degrees where they want it, the swelling goes down and the pain starts to subside, and you start feeling better and you start to see light at the end of that tunnel. Just remember that it's a lengthy journey. And you sometimes you want to push yourself and sometimes you want to know when to pull back, but also just remembering what the end goal is. If you have an 8 to 9 month diagnosis for your recovery, then don't try to rush that and be back by 6 or 7. Listen to your body, listen to professionals around you, the people that are doing your rehab, your trainers, your head trainers, whatever it might be. But I dealt with the pain by being honest with myself, pushing myself sometimes, pulling back some other times, allowing myself to cry and be in bad moods and be upset about what's happened to me, but continue to write, journal, talk about the certain situations that you're in, talk about those certain days of rehab and therapy that you're in, days that were good, days that were bad, days you weren't there mentally, days that you had a great day and you felt great. Because when you write those things down and you journal them, whenever you come back to them in the future, you are going to be so proud of yourself and what you've done and what you've accomplished. You're going to laugh at a lot of the stuff that you wrote down. Oh, I don't know when I'm going to be able to walk again. Oh my God, woe is me. Oh, I'm going to transfer and I just want to get a ranch and I just want to just work a job and continue on with my life. And now I'm not worried about doing any of these sports. To the point the next year you're starting. You're all American, you're all conference, you're honorable mention. You're getting a chance to play professionally because you've had such a great year and you've bounced back. You're a team captain. You're somebody that the younger players look up to. You're OG now. You're unk. You're big bro. Your auntie. I don't know what they call the women, but auntie maybe. Girl. I don't know. But those are the time. That's what this time is built for. So I hope that answered your question on how did I deal with the pain. And I hope that if you're dealing with any of the same stuff I was dealing with, whether it's a torn ACL or PCL or MCL or just an injury in general, I hope that you attack your therapy full on with a great mindset every day, with goals that you have, certain milestones that you can reach to make it feel like you're making, not feel, to make it that you are making progress. Because when we think about it, we hear, okay, it's 8 to 9 months before you'll be back running. And between that and then between them telling you that and the 8 to 9 months that you're going to get there, there's so many wins that we can accomplish right in the middle of that. Sometimes it's going to look different. Sometimes it's being on time where you're going. Sometimes it's going to be from graduating from 2 crutches to 1 crutch, from 1 crutch to walking, from the big brace to no brace, from jogging or walking to a little bit of running, from cutting and zigzagging, like all this stuff that I've been through multiple times. And so I'm praying for whoever sent that question in. I love the question. I absolutely loved it. Thank you for remembering about my journey and me tearing my ACL in college and dealing with a couple surgeries in the NFL. But you have everything you possibly need to be successful. Once again, you're tuned in to Too Good to Be Drew. I am your host, Drew Davis, aka Uncle Drew. Send in those questions. click the link inside the show notes. That'll take you right to my website where you can write these questions out. I want to hear from everybody. I want to hear what you're going through, whether on the field or off the field, and what advice or mentorship or coaching that I can give you to help you through this current problem or pain point. So if you never send the questions in, I'll never know. But once again, that's another episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I love you guys. Continue to rate, like, follow this show, give it 5 stars, and I'll catch you guys next episode. Stay healthy.